when I go into companies and I charge, there's a couple of reasons why I've increased my rates over the year. One of them is that so they pay attention. I've actually gone to companies, I don't know about you, but where there's no buy-in from leadership. It's like a tick the box exercise, right? They're just like, oh, let's just bring this person who's going to say some funny things or whatever weird things, and and tick, we've given them some motivation or whatever they want to put it down. So what I found is that the more companies pay, the more they pay attention and the more leadership shows up, right? And again, I think for you, it's about the problem you solve. So I know people who charge 25,000, 30,000, and it's a lot of money. But when you look at it from the perspective of what problem it solves for a company, it's a fraction of what it would cost them if they didn't have that problem solved. And I think that's what, if people listening to this who are getting into the speaking business, if you take anything from what I'm saying, is that I started at 250. I was actually doing free talks. Then I was doing 250 pounds. Then I remember charging 500 pounds, and that was mad. I was like, oh my God, surely no one's ever going to pay me more than that. And then I went to 700, went to 1,000, and someone challenged me saying, like, you're a 5 to 10,000 speakers. Like, there's no way I could ever do that. And then incremental over the years, the more I talk, the more I felt comfortable. And still to this day, when I say my fee, I feel a little bit, but every time it gets a little bit easier. And eventually you dissociate and detach yourself from it. And like now I've got fees for charities and universities and corporates, right? But I'm no longer emotionally attached to the response, which I don't know about you, but was a big game changer for me. It's kind of like, oh, it's this. If you don't want it, that's okay. A little bit like if you went to a nice shop to buy a piece of clothing and you took it off the rail and you're like, oh, this is all, how much is this? And they say like, oh, 500 euros, whatever. And you're like, that's really expensive. The shop owner like, okay.
I perhaps I always had an inflated opinion of myself that I don't necessarily, I might suffer from the opposite problem. But one thing that one thing that I do have sometimes is that particularly if I've just had a couple of gigs before, and I know that it wouldn't take me 10 hours to prepare. Part of me just wants to do it for a lot less than I should charge, just because I enjoy it so much. If I'm doing a talk this week and someone wants me to do a talk 3 days later, and it's the same talk, I'm almost inclined to do it for almost nothing, just because, sure, it's one more chance to speak. But it's a terrible commercial idea. But occasionally I've had people say, would you do it for us? Like, I would do it because it's rehearsed. I like it. I'm just going to have fun for an hour. But, that's not how the business works.
Well, I think because when I used to teach around public speaking or this kind of stuff, what I would say is you've got to think about it as like this. Well, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, right, for people listening. But I would say there are two types of speakers. You've got public keynote speakers and platform speakers. And keynote speakers is that. It's kind of like a transactional fee. We pay you to come and give a talk, and hopefully you change the way we think, act, or see, the world differently or whatever. And then you have a platform speaker, which effectively you don't really care about getting a fee. You just care about being exposed to more people so they can buy your then services, consultancy, products, or maybe your other talk or whatever it is. And I think I balance between both. Like there's certain events, they don't have a budget or they're not going to be able to afford my fee. So I said, look, instead of paying me whatever it is that you want to pay me, here's what I'm looking for. Like, who are the people in the room? What kind of exposure can you give me? Can you include me in the mailing list? Can you interview me on a podcast? Can you do like, just so I can be more exposed to this? But when I go there and I talk, then I know that people in the room potentially will want to bring me into their companies. I've done that a bunch of times where I've spoken at events either for free or almost nothing. And that then led to clients who could actually, afford and pay and want to invest in my fees.